Hello everyone, I hope you're all doing beautifully well. For today's valued viewer request, we've got from Terios Today. Dear Cap, I just found this strange event in the history of the B-52 in Wikipedia. However, the US Air Force disputes this claim, stating the bomb was actually hit by friendly fire, an AGM-88 high-speed anti-radiation missile that homed on the fire control radar of the B-52's tail gun. The jet was subsequently renamed in harm's way. I'm sure we've all heard about this. It's a really interesting claim. So my question is this possible to hit a B-52 with an AGM-88 harm while in the air? Not quite, but maybe we can muddle things around to get near enough. Over to Tyler Roggaway, who everyone knows in the early 1990s, one of the America's B-52G serial number that was emblazoned with the nose art displaying a puzzling nickname. In harm's way, the story of how the bomber got the moniker emanates from one of the bizarre sets of circumstances that only war seems to provide. The incident occurred during Operation Desert Storm. On a nighttime raid deep into Iraqi territory, a brace of 52s were interdicting into Iraqi airspace at very low level. Wow, never seen 52s go at low level. Using their nap-of-the-earth flying capabilities, the tactic was used early in the war in an attempt to avoid deadly anti-aircraft artillery and surface-to-air missiles, both of which Saddam Hussein's forces had plenty of. High above was a flight of F-4G Wild Weasels, these guys here that were equipped, of course, with harms. What an awesome plane that is. We'll get it one way. This was still the age when the B-52s retained their tail guns, radar-guided tail guns, and those tail guns used radar for targeting enemy fighters at close range. As the bombers roared across the dark desert floor, B-52 gunners intensely monitored their scopes for marauding enemy aircraft, while electronic warfare officers watched for missile launches. At just a couple of hundred feet off the ground, crews would have little time or space to react if they were pounced. Suddenly, an F-4G Wild Weasel crew picked up the radar of an anti-aircraft artillery battery in the B-52's path and fired off a harm from on high. What happened next is the most opaque part of the story. From what seems to have occurred is that the F-4G fired the missile in the blind, so he's not locking up a certain target, which you can do. You can fire them at a speed or whatever and hope they're going to lock onto something without a specific threat radar being classified before launch. Apparently, this was due to the fact that multiple types of anti-aircraft artillery radars have very similar electronic signatures, so many of them are classified simply as AAA by default. Some claim the F-4G crew actually mistook the B-52's tail gun radar or its missile warning system by accident, but it seems like a real threat did exist, with the unique geometry of the engagement being the catalyst for near disaster. As for the nearly 14-foot-long 800-pound missile, dove towards its target in the dark abyss below, accelerating on its way to Mach 2. In the process, its seeker inadvertently locked onto the B-52's ASG-15 tail gun targeting radar system, otherwise known as Defensive Fire Control System (DFCS). Others claim the harm locked onto the bomber's AN/ALQ-153 missile warning system. Like the 15, the 153 used an active radar system, but in its case the system was used to detect incoming missiles. Apparently this was possible because the B-52's tail radars are similar to those used by AAA batteries and were classified to default as the general AAA designation. As such, the missile was drawn to the B-52's tail instead of the AAA site the Wild Weasel crew was trying to put out of commission. The missile's 150-pound, yikes, that's a thumping warhead, detonated just behind the big bomber, ripping off various pieces of the aircraft's empennage, including pretty much everything behind the vertical stabilizer, and blasting other surfaces, including the horizontal stabilizers, with shrapnel. The aircraft's tailgun system and missile warning system were totally obliterated. The badly damaged aircraft skewed about the darkness low over the desert. The crew struggled to regain control of the stricken bomber, dropping to just feet below the ground in process. Amazingly, they were able to limp the stricken jet back to the Prince Abdullah Air Base in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, landing without its usual drag chute. It was streamed out to the back of the B-52 as a result of the explosion and immediately collapsed as the jet was going hundreds of knots above its maximum deployment speed. The jet was patched together crudely and ferried thousands of miles to Anderson Air Force Base in Guam, where it would receive a more comprehensive set of fixes. Eventually, it was returned to the fleet with the new nose art and the nickname In Harm's way. The B-52 served brilliantly in the Desert Storm, secretly launched GPS-guided cruise missiles and dropped nearly 1/3 of the tonnage of all air-to-ground weapons during the war. By 1992, all tail guns were removed from the entire B-52 fleet as part of the cost-saving and tactics-shifting measure, although the 153 remained just 2 years after. In 1994, the B-52G fleet was retired, including our tail number, leaving just B-52H to soldier on for decades. We've got the 52H. Now, I think it does not have the rear tail gun, but I think it does have the 153 missile detecting system, so we should, in theory and hopefully, still be able to lock onto it. Stand by. Hey, valued viewers, this is a B-52H that's flying around innocently. Wow, look at that bit of terrain. Have you seen that before? Ever seen that? I just hope that there aren't any rogue LD-10s or HARMs or any other types of SEAD missiles in the air. So I'm in my JF-17 and I'm doing some SEAD training. Let's hope there's no B-52s or radar emitters in front of me. Let's get everything set up. Master arm on. Warm them babies up. Whoops, they were already on. How embarrassing for me. Power them up again. We're going to fire them in active and I think we'll just ripple them out. Cap is... Woo! Magnum times 4. Oh, B-52, it's homing in on your tail! Boom, 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 boom! How absolutely... Wow, that did a lot more damage than the real one. Oh, the boys got out. Tony Scott, Jerry Adams, Martin McGuinness, and Ben Martin got out just fine, so don't you worry. That's it, RC. Anything you want to add to that?
No.
I hope you enjoyed that. Oh, aeroplane's flying by, and see you later.